Lauren, I know you've been sending a lot of updates out on the weather app.
Yeah, Wes, we've been talking about we had this drought for so long and we knew finally it was going to stop. And here it is. It's happened today. We've got some potential for at least some wet weather, possibly some severe weather in the forecast.
Exactly. And one thing that really caught our attention a few moments ago, and if you were with us here for the news at 6, a storm north of Jackson, Mississippi, a tornado warning on that. Let's get right over to what we're tracking here because we do have some active weather on the way for tonight. We have declared it is a first alert weather day. We've got this system moving in from the west and very dynamic system. One of the more impressive systems that we've seen since last spring, and it's going to bring a lot of wind energy with it. So that's why we have the concern for some of these storms rotating tonight, especially back into west Alabama. But already we're starting to see some heavier rain and storms, and it is raining right now. We have rumbles of thunder. Hamilton back into parts of Pickens County. You can see there those showers and storms tracking north. I want to switch sources here. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan is going to take us in for a closer look, but you can see back to the west here. See these storms just north of Jackson. That was a confirmed tornado. Got to watch this storm right in here. It's embedded in a lot of rain, but this is what you run into with a situation like this. You have these high shear, low instability setups, and many times this is a classic concern for the month of November. You get a storm like this embedded in a lot of precipitation. There's clearly some rotation in here, and that storm, again, when you see that purple colored polygon right there, that is the Weather Service. We have a confirmed tornado. Again, this is over into Mississippi, and yeah, our system, you can see right there, First Alert AccuTrack showing some very strong rotation with this. This is moving towards Philadelphia, Mississippi. Places over around DeKalb County, Mississippi will need to be weather alert in Neshoba County as this moves to the east. But there's the another look at from the Jackson radar as Lauren has zoomed in on that. And this again is well west of us. If we look at the forecast radar over the next 60 minutes and just where this will move with respect to west Alabama, you can see as we track this along. Let's move this view out some, Lauren, where we can see that storm right there. You can see it shows us tracking towards Philadelphia, and perhaps it could move in towards Sumter County. But back to our area and the radar view, there are storms, again, non-severe, but we're starting to get the atmosphere is kind of priming in. You can see how we got that low-level jet, that south wind out ahead of this system as it moves in, and that's why we're dealing with some of that heavier rain there starting to make its way into west Alabama. But we are going to see a lot of rain. That's the one good thing about this setup tonight. We're going to have rain and storms impacting the area through the overnight hours. I mean, look at all this back to the west. The main concern for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes looks to be in this southwest area. When you look at the real juicy air, the instability, those higher dew points, you can see how we're starting to get some of that muggy air building in back around Greene County and in towards Demopolis. So this is the region that we really need to pay close attention to here, and even around Pickens and Tuscaloosa County. That's why we highlighted this area. That's where it starts to feel a bit stickier out there, and some of that energy, that storm fuel as we call it. The timing, we've had 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., but already, again, we're seeing some of those storms in the western part of the area. I still think by midnight we could see some of that heavier rain in central areas, and when we wake up in the morning, we're going to have some heavy rain east Alabama. While I think the greatest risk for severe weather is to the southwest, it's still going to be windy, very windy out there. That's why we declared a first alert weather day, and there's going to be some rain when you hit the road. Plan for some extra drive time in the morning. We are under wind advisories, Cherokee County, all the way to Marion County, south to Perry County as well, down into Chilton County. Southeast winds 15 to 25. But look at those gusts. That's over tropical storm force. We could have some wind gusts out there tonight, topping 40 miles per hour. Look at some of this data coming in. I actually dialed it back a little bit. Sometimes these models, they tend to overestimate the wind speed. They don't handle the friction too well with the surface, but you can see there by midnight tonight showing 45 mile per hour winds around Aniana, gusts to Greensboro, Tuscaloosa there topping 30 miles per hour. Look at this. That's showing 50 around Aniana, 51 there around Anniston. So with these kind of winds, certainly could be a few random power outages tonight. So make sure you have multiple ways to get those weather alerts, like our Fox 6 weather app. You can download that by searching WBRC in your app store. And a good night, certainly, to be weather alert. Right, Lauren?
Yeah, that's right, Wes. And as we get ready for a round of storms that could bring the possibility of some strong winds, our Brian Henry spoke with the owner of a tree cutting service earlier in the year on how you can keep your yard safe.
Leslie Fancher has seen it firsthand. As the owner of a tree cutting service in Bibb County, Fancher says those seemingly harmless tree limbs hanging low could very well become missiles.
Like any of your leaning trees, you need to look and make sure that they're not damaged anyway. If they're already damaged, there's already a potential for them to fall.
Especially if the ground is saturated, which could jeopardize the strength of the tree.
So really, the satellite imagery kind of tells a story.
Veteran WBRC meteorologist Fred Hunter says any storm threat should be taken seriously. And just because the tornado threat for the area is low, don't dismiss it.
Be sure you charge your mobile devices. Be sure you have a battery-powered radio, no weather radio, because 40-mile-per-hour winds, and that's what we could see area-wide, can certainly cause electrical outages.
Not only potential electrical outages, but havoc on your patio. Tied down your outdoor furniture. Fancher has seen it one too many times before. Someone else's patio table or chair ending up in a tree miles away.
Even just swing sets, make sure they're tied to the ground or they're removed and put inside of a building like a shop.
Small trees that can bring down limbs, and of course in the heavily wooded areas, those limbs come down. They come down on power lines.
And this is also a good time to make sure your weather radio is programmed for where you live. Make sure you have batteries on hand or that the device is also fully charged. And don't just depend on outdoor warning sirens. We preach this every year because those are designed for people to hear them if they're outdoors. And hopefully tonight you'll be inside.
And right now you can scan and tap our First Alert Weather Day QR code to download our First Alert Weather app and get updates on closing, storm shelter locations. A lot of great information for you right there. Of course, we do lots of updates throughout the evening, and we will be right here for you throughout the night, keeping you well informed. In 30 seconds, we'll talk more about the secondary severe weather season and what that means. But first, take a look at the risk level. These are from the Storm Prediction Center, just showing you central Alabama, some timing and impacts. We're going to break it down region by region right here only on Weather Extra. See you in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. It's been very quiet with the drought recently. It feels like really August, September, October. There have been tumbleweeds going across central Alabama. Unfortunately, that has left us in an extreme drought, but now things are changing. Today is our first storm system we've seen in quite some time, likely since the early summer, that is going to be bringing the threat for severe weather. This will likely be a rain and wind event for most of us, but this isn't unusual to see severe weather in November. Why? Because November is the start of our secondary severe weather season. So it may not seem that way. When you think of severe weather, oftentimes you think of March, April, May. That's kind of the bullseye for us here in Alabama. And this graph that I have right here is showing tornadoes by month in Alabama. You can see from March to May, that's when we have the highest occurrence of tornadoes on average. This is looking at a time frame from 1950 to 2022. But as we go forward in time, when we don't just look at March, April, and May, we also have to look at November through February. Highlighted here, you can see the second highest annual occurrence of tornadoes during the year is during the late fall and into parts of winter. So oftentimes we consider that secondary severe weather season to generally be November and December, but we've also been seeing in recent years January and February included in that as well. So you have to be prepared, and we know here in Alabama you can get tornadoes any time of year. So when we have the potential for severe weather, what ingredients are we looking at? We look at an acronym called SLIM, which stands for shear. That is the change with wind speed or direction with height in the atmosphere, which can cause the air to rotate. Lift, if you get vigorous lift in the atmosphere, that can cause storms to be more robust. You have vigorous updrafts that can help to fuel these storms. And then we have instability. That's storm fuel, that heat that you can get, that energy that can help to fuel storms, and then moisture. You got to have moisture in the atmosphere. You've got to have those high dew points in place in order to get severe weather. So when you have all four of these, normally a surefire guarantee to see severe weather. But for us, as far as severe ingredients today, during the secondary severe weather season, oftentimes what we will see are low CAPE, high shear events. What does that mean? Low CAPE? Well, that's just talking about the potential energy that we have for storms. So what you're seeing here is that instability, that CAPE, showing that it's not overly impressive. As we go into tonight, we may see a brief corridor where areas to the south and west, we could see a little bit of storm energy available with that strong wind shear in the atmosphere to help produce some strong to severe storms. But generally, the better ingredients for that will be staying to our south and west overnight. And that's what happens a lot during the winter season. But when we return on First Alert Weather Extra, we're going to be talking more in depth about the low and severe threat for tonight, with the wind energy being more prolific with this system. And hey, I'll take you beyond the 7-day for when we could see that next chance of rain past Thanksgiving. And here's a look too at that severe risk for Alabama for tonight in the western parts of our area, a time frame from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. And as I was saying, if someone's going to be seeing maybe a storm that could produce an isolated tornado tonight, that corridor there highlighted in yellow is where that would be more likely. Still a low end threat. I think the main thing for most of us is going to be heavy rain and gusty winds overnight. We're talking tropical storm force winds with gusts up to 40, 50 miles per hour possible. First Alert Weather Extra. We'll be right back.
Welcome back into Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes White along with meteorologist Lauren Linehan. We're keeping a close watch on these storms now moving into West Alabama. We don't have a tornado watch just yet, but those conditions will become a bit more favorable, especially to the south and west later on this evening. Right now we are seeing thunderstorms, but this is the atmosphere kind of getting primed in out ahead of that main axis. Not seeing a lot across East Alabama at the moment, but with time, just hang on. We're going to have some heavier rainfall that will make its way also into central and eastern areas. But where it's raining now, we've had some downpours around Hamilton. This is lifting north towards Red Bay. Our friends around Russellville now dealing with some heavier rainfall. Hackleburg. As we go further east, I've been seeing some showers. We've been tracking across Blount and Coleman counties. Light stuff at the moment, but you can see how quickly this is lifting south to north as this energetic storm system approaches us, helping to pull in all that moisture from the south off the Gulf of Mexico. So the Gulf finally opening up for a change, and some heavier rain. You can see some storms now around Aliceville and into Pickens County. Again, this is non-severe, but some locally heavy rainfall and gusty winds. That's what we're going to see out of this. This is where the tornado watch is in effect, and still watching this storm around Philadelphia that prompted a tornado warning. That thing is moving closer. We're going to have to keep a watch on this one. This is right there on the northern axis. We see this a lot of times, the very northern part of that axis of instability. It just kind of rides along there, and that's moving in towards Philadelphia. Folks around Philadelphia need to be seeking shelter as this approaches. I mean, that's confirmed when you see the polygon that's shaded with the purple color, but that's over into Mississippi. Don't know if this is going to hold together. It may weaken as it moves closer to Alabama, but you can see that's right there on the northern end where we're seeing that more unstable air. But this is, as Lauren noted a few moments ago, we look for the instability and the wind shear, and that's where that greatest combination is. But you know, the thing about November and December is you don't need as much instability. A lot of times you can have what we call these high shear environments, and even though the greatest tornado threat is to the southwest, sometimes with all this wind energy in the atmosphere, you can get a brief a tornado that spins up, and a very isolated case, and can happen many times in the colder season. So we have to watch out for that in setups like this. That's why we're saying isolated tornado threat, especially to the west. But the greatest tornado ingredients you can see by 9 a.m. down into the southern part of the area. But just to stress, it's a low-end risk that we're talking about, but it's not zero. So we just need to be weather ready. It's been a while. One of the reasons why we went with a first alert weather day is because the winds in general are going to be quite gusty tonight. It's a fast-moving system, and what happens is you go through rapid pressure changes, and that's what drives these gusty winds, which will gradually ramp up tonight. Winds south-southeast, notice by 2 a.m. showing over 20 miles per hour. Look at all this rain out there. That's the good thing about this. We're going to end up with 1 to 2 inches of rain as this slides on through, and some of the heavier rain, the gusty winds, that's going to be around for the morning drive across East Alabama tomorrow. But I will say tonight, and based on radar trends Lauren and I were just discussing, it seems like things are progressing along rather quickly tonight. So hopefully we'll get this in and out of here a bit sooner. But you can see the wind advisory that does include the entire area. There could be some random outages. So one of the next big things, obviously, those gusty winds tonight. And just look at some of this data, and I actually dialed it back a bit. This is showing past midnight. Let's stop it right there. Look at that 54 mile per hour wind gust, 44 Tuscaloosa, Birmingham around 45 mile per hour wind. So very, very windy conditions, and those wind speeds gradually back off tomorrow, but it's still going to be a breezy day. Could be a few lingering showers coming back as we go into the afternoon. But dry weather for Wednesday. Right now, Thanksgiving Day looks dry. We will see some showers coming back Thursday night and into Friday, as you'll see there on the 7-day forecast. So if you're heading out shopping early Friday morning, you may run into a few showers. The weekend right now, Iron Bowl Saturday looks dry. High temperatures around 61 degrees. And be sure, if you haven't done so, download our Fox 6 weather app. That way you can get those advisories and alerts that we send out throughout the evening. But hopefully we don't end up with many power outages, and certainly we're watching to see that southwest area there for that possibility of strong to severe storms beginning this evening. But as we go beyond the 7-day forecast with meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Lauren, I was noticing next week the possibility seems like now we've shifted into Monday night into Tuesday mode now.
Right, yes, it does seem to happen that way.
Right.
Every year it's like systems seem to come on the exact same day.
Exactly.
It feels like, and that is what is happening this year. A surefire guarantee, it seems. But we are beginning to flip that switch to a more active weather pattern as we look at that first alert weather calendar. Hey, looking nice for Turkey Day at least. But then we do have that possibility, maybe some showers by Thanksgiving night into Black Friday morning. I'm not telling you it's going to be a stormy, severe setup. The air is actually going to be pretty stable, but just that first alert for the possibility of showers. And then beyond that 7-day, Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, the possibility of another system that could be bringing some rain. Maybe even the first Monday of December, seeing that possibility of some rain in the forecast. But let's take a peek at that temperature outlook over the next 8 to 14 days. It still looks like here in Alabama, we could be seeing the possibility of below average temperatures. And so what does that actually look like? Well, first of all, as we always issue our disclaimer with beyond the 7-day, things can and will change. We're just showing you what the model data is trending towards right now. So generally, this is showing as we wrap up November and head into December. This is looking at November 26th through December 5th, that temperatures will generally be at or slightly below average. So that could mean highs in the 50s or low to mid 60s. And then what about morning lows, November 26th through the 5th of December, showing that temperatures next week could be fairly seasonable in the 40s, maybe a brief warm up as we get into that first weekend of December, but then another cool down those first couple of days of the first full week of December. So I'm not seeing anything that's screaming a frost or freeze threat. We may have to watch for a little frost later this week with this cold front that's coming through, the whole reason we're seeing storms. But what about the precipitation outlook? Even though we've got a storm system coming through right now, that one storm system alone isn't going to kill the drought. It does look like 8 to 14 days from now, we could be seeing the possibility of above average precipitation. We love to hear that. We just don't want to get it all in one system. We kind of got to spread it out, right? So this is showing us the upper levels of the atmosphere, the mid-level flow in the atmosphere, and also showing us where we could see maybe troughs or ridges, that jet stream setting in, and where we could see the possibility of rain. So this is showing maybe a system exiting early next Tuesday morning on November 28th. And then it generally looks like maybe some passing clouds at times, but for the rest of that week, as we're wrapping up November and getting into the first day of December, possibly seeing some northwest flow in the atmosphere that could be bringing the possibility of some clouds in the forecast, but generally keeping us dry until we have that system coming in, possibly late the first weekend of December. But as we head into the holiday weekend, just as we'll see storms in our area, so will millions of other Americans potentially. This comes as multiple storm systems are on track to potentially throw a monkey wrench into an already busy holiday travel week. We check in now with Laura Aguirre with a report.
Travelers should be checking with their airline directly for the most up-to-date information about their flights.
Solid advice whenever you're flying, but even more important this week. Severe weather across large parts of the U.S. threaten to snarl holiday travel plans. Powerful rainstorms over areas of the central U.S. are rolling toward the Midwest, and thunderstorms over parts of the Gulf and southern regions could bring tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail throughout Monday night. To navigate the impact on air travelers, the National Weather Service is positioning meteorologists at 22 FAA centers.
They provide down-to-the-minute weather predictions for exact arrival and departure routes in the busiest parts of the U.S. airspace.
The Department of Transportation says it's been working closely with airlines to ease the cost of trip delays on travelers.
Now, almost all of them guarantee hotels and ground transportation, and all of them guarantee covering meals. If your flight gets canceled or significantly delayed for any reason, I want the traveling public to know that you are entitled to a full cash refund if you choose to take that refund rather than a rebooking.
And that's good news, given forecasters predict by Tuesday, rain and snow could be hampering air and highway travel across large parts of the Midwest, New England, and East Coast, from D.C. to Atlanta.
We will be using every tool at our disposal to keep cancellations and delays as low as possible.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
And last but not least, East Alabama. If you're wondering when storms will be arriving in your area, I think the main time frame for you guys, I want to keep in mind these storms have been moving a little bit more quickly. So I'm actually going to go ahead and say maybe 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. west. But I think East Alabama, you should probably be seeing the least impacts from severe weather. Still some heavy rain and wind possible, though.
Yeah, and we're watching those storms back to the west. Of course, we'll have plenty of updates tonight. I'll see you back here, top of the 9 o'clock news.